because it takes 16 days to create a queen, and so and there'd be queen cells in there that you would have seen. So they would know that they go in and there's nothing in there, and they're just gone. They were in there a couple days before and they were fine, and then all of a sudden they were gone. I've had some of my hives do this.
So that's common around here.
Yes,
Yeah.
it happens everywhere. Most of the guys that notice it are commercial because they've got 2,000 hives. All of a sudden, 60% of their hives just disappear. And they just can't figure it out. Hobbyists kind of, don't notice it as often, or they blame it on something else. Like you said, yours the other day just left, right?
Yeah, there was 3 stack, flying good, and I've been feeding them.
Yeah.
But
And-
the queen left also, so.
So, well, a lot of times, the queen will just, once they leave, she leaves too. So, and they don't know where they go. They just disappear. The aliens came.
Yeah.
Mothership come down.
Then they know where my house is, 'cause I have a lot of that problem.
So, they found, and they've kind of decided that pesticides, all these different things, varroa mite, they all work together to finally the bees are just have had enough and they just leave. They just, that's what they're figuring. They come out, one study came out and said that these new pesticides they're using, neonicotinoids, GMOs, they take the plants and they put these pesticides right inside the seed of the plant, so the plant grows with this pesticide inside of it. The bee goes, collects the pollen, brings that pesticide right back to the hive, and then it's just too much for the bees. And and then the varroa mite on top of that has weakened their immune system. These pesticides are weakening it even more. They get disease and they just can't handle it anymore, so they just go out and die. Monsanto says, hey, wait a minute, our products are killing the honeybees, and they do their own studies, and they say, see, our GMOs aren't killing the bees. But the other people's studies say they are. Europe, France, and England have banned Monsanto products. They say they don't have colony collapse disorder anymore, but the United States won't ban the products. In fact, we keep giving Monsanto more and more power. I can see they're a good company. I mean, they're trying to do their job. I don't know if they're a good company or not, but they're trying to make things to help so that we can grow more plants and not have all these pests. But something's happening to our bees, and where these other countries don't use their products anymore and they're fine. That got to tell you something.
Yeah, Bayer's a German company, and they're the leading ones in that neonicotinoids.
Yeah.
They're bad over there now. That's what we do here. That's unreal.
Yeah. So, I think there's 6 senators that are actually that work directly for Monsanto. And so they just passed a law this year that Monsanto cannot be sued for any of this stuff. So, if their product kills something, they can't be sued for it. And the government said, oh, that's fine, we won't have people sue you over it. So, it's just crazy. It's like we've got to figure out what's causing this and fix it. If it's that product, they're going to have to change and do something different. But just to let them get away with it is kind of crazy. The treatment is control varroa, use resistant bees. Varroa-resistant bees are safe chemicals. Maintain good bee nutrition all year long. Avoid monocrop sources of food. So we don't usually have a problem here in Utah much because we don't have big monocrops where they're only growing, 10,000 acres of one product that's, GMO or whatever. Avoid agricultural pesticides, so try not to spray around your hive very often. You can still use them in your yard, just make sure you follow the label, do it at the right times when the bees aren't out flying around collecting the nectars and stuff. Keep the inside of the hives clean and rotate your wax out every 3 years.
Okay, what does that mean?
Okay, so you've got your brood chamber that they've been using, your honey. So take the brood chamber out, so after 3 years, rotate that up into your honey super. Let all the babies hatch out of it, whatever. Let them fill it with honey. Extract the honey out of it, and then get rid of the frame. So either scrape all the wax off, clean the frame, and then reuse it, or just throw it away and put new frames in the next year.
And you can throw those away, or do you need to burn them?
Well, you can probably just throw them away if they're not bad disease on them.
If my friend gets ugly, you back, I throw it in.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to save it, and they'll come in here and say, you know, I want to save the frame, and so they'll scrape all the wax off, they'll boil water, they'll stick them in boiling water, melt any of the wax off, and then they have to clean the wax and, you know, paint the foundation again with wax so it's wax coated. You know, they spend 4 or 5 hours doing that. I mean, it's like at $3. It's like, what's your time worth? You know, it's like, if you want, you can do that. A lot of time, you know, if your frame's in good shape, just pop the foundation out, throw the foundation, buy a new foundation and stick in it. It's $1.25 for a foundation. I mean, to me, my time's worth a lot more than, you know, spending 4 hours to save $20 worth of product. You know, so. But it's up to you how you want to do it. The next one, red mite found on bees, sealed in brood cells, bottom board, inspection screens, small pinholes in the brood cell capping, numerous dead bees, dead or alive with deformed wings or short abdomens. So you'll see all this kind of stuff happening in the hive. You see their wings. If you get in your hive, you see a lot of baby bees with their wings all warped. That is a sign of that you have an extreme mite problem. If you do not treat the hive, it will die. And more likely, it might already die, and there's nothing you can do about it. Once they get to where they're starting to deform the wings like that, they've got a really high concentration of mites in there. So you just got to watch it. And this is Varroa mite. That last page in this pamphlet, if you want, gives you a way to count them and different stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. The bees they are all female, most of them, so they do get PMS. And it's called parasitic mite syndrome. So, fertile female Varroa mite will seek out and find a cell with larvae that is just ready to be capped. She climbs down to the bottom of the cell, hides there. Once the cell is capped, she attaches herself to the pupa and begins to feed. She then begins laying eggs. The first egg that hatches is a male Varroa mite. All the rest of the eggs that hatch in that cell are females. That male then goes and impregnates all those female Varroa mite. Then they chew their way out of the cell. So you'll see little pinholes in the tops of the cells because they've chewed their way out. They go find a new cell and start the process all over again. So you get one Varroa mite comes in from somewhere. You got that goes in. There'll be 8 that hatch out of that. Those 8 go and infect 8 new cells, and they each produce 8 new babies. And they go on, and so the Varroa mite can explode really quickly. And so you got to keep watch on it and keep them down. The larvae that are attacked by Varroa suffer from all manner of problems. They transmit viruses. They stunt and eventually kill the newly emerged bees, so they stunt their growth. They really wreak havoc on their immune system, so they make them more susceptible to other diseases. Pesticides are also harder. They can't fight off these different things because they make them sick. So they reduce their feeding capacity and make a less healthy hive. You must control Varroa mites or they will eventually kill your colony. You know, a lot of people say, I'm not going to treat Varroa. I don't have Varroa. I've heard it every story in the world, and if they don't treat it, will kill their hive sooner or later. You might make it a couple of years, but it's going to kill your hive. It's just crazy. Down at the bee convention this spring down in California, the American Bee Federation went down there. They're recommending, it was called Bee Formed in Partnership. They were recommending treating for Varroa 4 to 5 times a year, which is like, wow, I do it twice a year, and I'm happy with that. But it's just, they want to just keep on top of it so it doesn't kill them. It's hard to do that because you don't want to treat while you got honey flow on. So I'll treat in the spring, and then I'll treat in the fall after I pull my honey off. But it's hard. There is some products you can treat during the honey flow, but it's just, I hate to do stuff when I've got honey that I want.
Hop-Guard is one that
Hop-Guard is one you can use.
during honey
quick
flow.
strips you can use, yeah. So Mind Away quick strips you can use to the honey flow. Hop-Guard, acetic acid, or something you can use during honey flow, apple bar, Apistan, or ones that you don't want to use during the honey. It's a chemical and you don't want to use that in your hive. Treatment, you must first know how many mites you have in your colony. Knowing how many there are will let you know if you need to take action or if preventative actions are working. So there's a couple different ways to count mites and find out different ways to check and to actually treat mites is a screen bottom board. If you're not using a screen bottom board now, I recommend you get screen bottom boards. Screen bottom boards will knock the mite count down in the hive by 30% just by itself. So if you're using a solid bottom board, the mites fall off the bees, fall into the bottom board, get right back on, they're always in the hive. If you use a screen, they fall out of the hive, can't get back in, so it keeps the count a lot lower. So that's one of the best preventative measures by itself, just by having a screen bottom board. A sugar shake is another way to count bees. So I've got some information about it up front if you're interested. I can get you. I even have some little screens. But you take a mason jar, you take a quarter cup of bees, is about 100 bees. So you get about quarter cup, or I recommend going half a cup of bees. You just scoop them up off the frames, make sure you don't get the queen. Put them in a mason jar, put 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar in there, put this screen on top on, shake the bees up, coat them with this powdered sugar, and then you shake the powdered sugar off of the bees into a pan of water. Then you can take those bees, dump them back onto the hive, they're going to be fine. They'll survive, they'll be covered with powdered sugar, but the other bees will clean them off. And then you count how many mites are in that pan of water. You put the water so it'll dissolve the sugar, and then you can see the mites floating in there. If there's over 5 bees per 100, or 5 mites per 100, so if you have 100 bees and you find 5 mites, you're going to want to treat. If you find, about half a cup would be 10 or 200, so you find more than 10 mites in there, you're going to want to treat. More likely you will find more than 10 mites in there.
So can't you just treat them? I mean, is it hard to treat them?
You can. A lot of people don't want to treat it unless they have to. Especially when you're using chemical things, the mites are building up, they're getting immune to these chemicals, they're building up a tolerance to them, and so it's best not to treat if you don't have to, but a lot of times you just treat. So there's different ways of treating, you've got the green boards that you can put in, and we'll talk about that here in a second. This gives you a count. So just the sugar shake. Also, you can use a sugar shake. You can just go and put, if you have a screen bottom board, dump powdered sugar on top of your bees, on top of all the frames. The mites can't hold on to the bees when they're covered with powdered sugar, so they fall off, they fall out of the bottom. And so that's a way to knock them down. It only affects the ones that are outside of the cell. It doesn't affect the ones inside, so the new ones that are hatching. So if you're going to do a sugar shake to knock them down, you need to do it every couple days for a couple weeks, just to get a lot of them out of there, so the new ones that hatch. But then it gives you a count, so you know if you need to treat. Drone frames, or the green frame, everybody's seen those? The green frame. So this is drone cell. It's got a bigger cell. So you put this in the hive, the bees draw it out from the bigger cell. The queen goes to it and says, okay, these are drone cells, so she'll lay an unfertilized egg in every cell. The mites then go in there, attach themselves, and they prefer drone cell because it's a longer gestation period. So it gives them longer to be in that cell and take care of, do their eggs to hatch and stuff. So once it's all capped off, the bees cap it off, pull it out, stick it in your freezer, freeze it for a day or two, pull it back out, stick it back in the hive. The freezing killed all the bees, and then it also killed all the mites. Put it back in, they will go and uncap it all, clean it all back out, and then do it again. Fill it up. You just got to make sure if you're using these that you get them taken out and freeze them. Because if you leave them in there too long and all those mites hatch, it's really going to be devastating to your hive. And then also you don't want that many drones hatching and being in your hive either.